Welcome back, everybody. So my next movie review for you is Saving Private Ryan. So before I get into this review, please do not forget to subscribe. If you enjoy my movie reviews, like and share, it would be very much appreciated. So, Saving Private Ryan was released on July 24th, 1998. Its director was Steven Spielberg. It was made on a budget of 17 million US dollars and made a whopping 482.3 million US dollars. The cast in this movie is reasonably impressive as well. We have Tom Hanks, Tom Sizemore, Edward Burns, Vin Diesel, Matt Damon, Barry Pepper, Adam Goldberg, Jeremy Davis, plus many others. So in this Saving Private Ryan movie, we get to follow a team led by Captain John Miller, who is played by Tom Hanks, who on the day of the Normandy landings are assigned a mission to go and find a soldier called Private James Ryan, whose other brothers have already been killed during World War II, and they just get told to go and find him and pretty much bring him home. And that is the whole premise of this movie. Again, it's a simple storyline because then you get to focus exactly on what you're watching throughout this movie. What do I honestly think about this movie? It's an absolutely fantastic watch in every single way. There is so many different amounts of emotion that you see and experience throughout this whole movie, and it just makes a very entertaining watch. And I will get into those reasons right about now. So, Saving Private Ryan movie review. Now, at the beginning of this video, I gave you the synopsis of this movie. That is pretty much the whole premise of this movie. So, yeah, it could be potentially, that could be potentially a spoiler, but in another way, this movie is not technically about the storyline. It is and it isn't. It's about the emotion that you get from this movie, the anxiety, the kind of all the emotions which are thrown at you in this, and it's about visuals in here. It's about the kind of realistic kind of feel you get from this movie. Now, if you have seen this, this is based around the Normandy landings and events not long after the Normandy landings. The thing with this is, and I do have a massive kind of thing for World War II, you're never going to really know through filmmaking exactly what it was like to storm those beaches. Ever. There is no movie that can actually give you that feeling. But this movie does get pretty close. The only people that will actually know what it was like to storm those beaches are the people that actually stormed those beaches. And I know when they were filming this movie, they worked very closely to people that actually landed on those beaches on this day to try and give it the most realistic feel that they possibly can. And to be honest with you, you do actually get that. There is a lot going on just in the opening sequence of this movie. It is a brutal bloodbath, and it can be I can only imagine exactly what it was like to do this, but just from watching this movie, even if that is just literally a taste of what it was like, then yes, I would not want to be on those beaches and I would not want to have done it. And I think they nailed this very well in this movie, just from what they were showing you and what the emotions were, the fear, the anxiety that some of these people that were showing you in this movie. I think they nailed this really well. This movie isn't full of comedic moments. There are banterish kind of moments in here, but a majority of this movie is set around the devastating effects of war. And I think just from the opening sequence itself, it really sets the tone for this movie. And it's exactly the same throughout the whole of this movie. When Captain John Miller's team get assigned this mission to go and find James Ryan, they are met with a serious amount of obstacles on this way and losses in this movie as well, which really, well, for me, really do affect me in every single way. Because I can't, there is unless somebody has been to war or experienced what they had to experience in World War II, you're never going to truly know what it felt like. And in this movie, you do kind of get a taste of, and I get it. It does get you. It does get you to the lump to the throat, and you can really feel the anxiety and tension rising in this, because potentially every corner you turn in this movie there is a potential problem, and they nailed this. You've always got to be constantly aware. It is in wartime. I absolutely love how they portrayed this movie. It's fantastic in every single way to me. Performances in this movie are again absolutely amazing. Now Tom Hanks is playing the lead character in here, and you do get a backstory to him. You get behind his character, and you start to feel that emotion with him as well throughout this movie. I think he nailed this role very, very much. He is this kind of father figure to the rest of the team, and they do generally look up to him for answers and results, and he does his best in a time where he is having to struggle with his own issues as well, but he raises above his own issues to really step up to the mark. I think what Tom Hanks did in this movie, or for this character, was absolutely fantastic, and it's exactly the same as other characters in here. They all have their kind of influence. They all put in their element into this. It's exactly the same as Matt Damon. He is a soldier that has that right to be out there. Why did he have that right to go home, or given that right? He wants to fight, he wants to do his bit. And it's exactly the same as every other character in here. Whether they want to be there or not, they will always fight no matter what. They won't back down, and they'll do the job that they have to do. And I think every character in here really played it well, whether it's an American soldier or even a German soldier. There are certain points when you get to see fear and anxiety on both sides here in this movie, which I think they really nailed. I think every performance really, really nailed it. You know, I have to be honest, it's not a place that I would want to be in. I can't imagine there being anybody in this world at this time that would ever have wanted to be there. And I just really enjoyed how they did this. I really, really did. For those reasons, Tom Hanks stepping up to the mark, knowing that he has his own issues, it's just fantastic. And you get this, yes, there are kind of banterish kind of moments in this movie which kind of do break up the serious tone of this movie, and it just gives that little bit of light-hearted levity into this movie, and I think they nailed it just on that balance. It just works for me. It's not overdone. It's not um, it is a very, very good balance of comedic moments in here. Visually, this movie is absolutely fantastic. Like I said, I keep going on to this opening sequence, but it's an absolutely fantastic scene. But throughout the whole of this movie, whether it's set designs or locations and all that kind of stuff, visually it's absolutely fantastic. It spends the majority of its time literally outside in the open in France and on the beaches. I liked what they did here. I really, really did. And the attention to detail in everything in this movie, I absolutely love. Whether it's just everything in here. If you've seen this movie, you'll know exactly what I'm on about. There is so much detail in here. There's so much kind of... There is... I have a very, very big obsession with events of World War II. I have no idea where this obsession come from in any way, shape or form, but I have a massive, massive obsession with it. And I've always wanted to, I haven't always wanted to try and experience what people or soldiers felt in this war. It was a very brutal kind of war which lasted for a long time, and I've just somehow had this obsession. So when I watch this movie and I speak to other people, they go, it is pretty close, not exactly to what actually happened. And I think the way that the director Steven Spielberg put this across and produced this, and just the emotions that he stuck in with this, just to make you feel the fear, anxiety, the kind of worry, the not wanting to be at war, this just grown men being scared. I think he nailed this really, really well, and it does make it for a very, very enjoyable watch. And if you haven't seen this, I will highly recommend this movie as well. So if I was to rate this, I would give this, again, it is a strong 10 out of 10 for me, because it's an absolutely fantastically made movie, in my opinion. It's not you're never going to see exactly what it was like on those beaches or in that time, but it is pretty close, and you really do get to feel that emotional roller coaster throughout this whole of this movie, whether it's through what you're watching visually or sets or how they portray it, or even whether it's just kind of performances in this movie, namely Tom Hanks. Absolutely fantastic in this movie. All actors in this movie are absolutely brilliant. They all nail it, and it's just a very entertaining watch. So, please stay tuned for the 5 bonus facts to do with Saving Private Ryan, which are coming up right about now. So here we go. 5 bonus facts to do with Saving Private Ryan. It is early in the morning here, so I am struggling with my speech a little bit. So, fact number 1: the plot was loosely inspired by the true story of the Nyland brothers, who were actually 4 brothers that were actually fought, who were actually fighting in World War II. Now, if I go into depth with that, I'm not 100% sure if any of these brothers died, but it's just loosely based on this kind of story. There is a big paragraph towards this, which you never know, one day I might just go into that on another video. Fact number 2: filming Saving Private Ryan got Tom Sizemore off drugs. So Steven Spielberg had a very, very strict policy while on set of no drugs in any way, shape or form, and the producers used to test Tom Sizemore's blood every day. In result of that, through production of this movie, he actually come off drugs and alcohol and was clean and sober. So that just proves exactly how much he wanted to be in this role if he was going to make that big sacrifice as well. Fact number 3: that Robin Williams actually helped Matt Damon get the role in this movie. Robin Williams and Steven Spielberg were good friends, and in a normal just meet and greet, Robin Williams took Matt Damon with him, and while in this meeting, Spielberg actually kind of saw something in Matt Damon and basically decided to call him up about taking the role for James Bryan. So there's another interesting fact. Fact number 4 is that Mel Gibson and Harrison Ford were both considered for the role of Captain Tom Hanks' character. I've forgotten the name as well. Stephen Miller, I do believe it is. Again, yes, both of those actors could play an absolutely fantastic. It's one of them. It's trying to imagine that another actor taking another actor's place after the movie has been released. And yes, Harrison Ford would have been a good choice, but I honestly think that Tom Hanks still would have owned that role. I know that movie, I've watched that movie since Tom Hanks has been in it, but yeah, it's the Tom Hanks role. It's simple as that. Fact number 5: the D-Day landing sequence actually cost $11 million to actually produce, and you can see that in this movie as well. There's a lot of time being taken into this opening sequence, and once you finally watch this movie, if you haven't, you'll understand why. There is a lot going on. And the other thing I didn't say in the movie review is that this movie is not heavily reliant on CGI. There is certain bits, but a lot of this is just practical kind of good old-fashioned filmmaking, which just makes this movie just even more enjoyable. So, on that note, please tell me what you think. Put it in the comments down below as normal. If you haven't seen this movie, I highly recommend this movie. Go and watch it, and then come back and tell me what you think and put it in the comments down below. If you have seen this movie, again, as normal, please put your thoughts in the comments down below as normal. Hope everybody has a great rest of the day, whatever you're doing. Please take care and goodbye.